The medical bay was quiet compared to the chaos of the battle. Taman sat in a chair beside Hana's bed, watching her sleep. The medical team had confirmed she was physically fine, just experiencing what they called symbiote shock. When armor failed catastrophically, the sudden sensory overload could knock a Velthran unconscious. Her body needed time to recover and adjust to being without the armor's connection. Dr. Kim, the human physician on duty, approached Taman with a tablet. "She'll be fine. Vitals are stable. The armor will need 48 hours to regenerate before she can bond with it again." 48 hours? That's a long time for her to be without it. It can't be rushed. The armor is biological. It needs time to heal itself. Dr. Kim looked at Hana thoughtfully. "You know, in all my time serving with Velthrans, I've never seen one without their armor. They usually refuse to let it separate from them, even for medical treatment. She didn't have much choice this time. No, but even now she's vulnerable in ways her people find difficult. By Velthran standards, she's essentially unprotected. That's a scary feeling for them." The doctor patted Taman's shoulder. "You should stay. I think she'll want to see a familiar face when she wakes up." Taman nodded and settled back into his chair. He pulled out his tablet and tried to work on some reports, but found himself watching Hana instead. Without her armor, she looked different. Smaller somehow, though she was still tall and athletic. Her skin had an unusual color, slightly violet in certain lights, and her features were sharp and elegant. She looked peaceful in sleep without the warrior mask she usually wore. 2 hours later, Hana's eyes opened. She blinked slowly, confused for a moment, then saw Taman sitting beside her. "You stayed?" "Yeah, wanted to make sure you were okay." Taman stood up and moved closer. "How do you feel?" "Strange. Naked. Vulnerable." Hana pushed herself up to a sitting position, moving carefully like she was still adjusting to her body without the armor's weight and support. "I have never been without my armor in the presence of other species before. The doctor said you need 48 hours before you can bond with it again." Hana closed her eyes briefly, accepting the information. 48 hours of being exposed. Of being weak. "You're not weak," Taman said firmly. "You just disabled a pirate frigate with a maneuver that would have killed most pilots. You trusted me to guide you through emergency repairs while flying through enemy fire. That's the opposite of weak. But now I am here, unarmored, vulnerable." Hana looked down at her hands. "Do you understand what this means for a Velthran? Our armor is our strength, our identity. Without it, we are just flesh and bone. Fragile." Taman pulled his chair closer and sat down. "Can I tell you what I see? I see someone who was practical enough to ask for help when she needed it, even though her culture said it was shameful. I see someone who trusted a member of another species to work on her most personal technology. I see a pilot who put her squadron and ship above her own comfort. That takes a different kind of strength." Hana looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. The warrior mask cracked further, and he saw the person underneath. Not just a fighter, but someone who was learning to be vulnerable, and finding it wasn't as terrible as she'd been taught. "You are a strange human, Taman. You see things differently than we do. Maybe that's not a bad thing." A comfortable silence fell between them. After a moment, Hana spoke again, her voice softer than Taman had ever heard it. "When I was young, I was taught that asking for help was the same as admitting defeat. That showing any weakness would make me prey. That true warriors stood alone, always strong, always perfect." She looked at her hands again. "But today, when I asked you for help, when I trusted you with my armor, when I followed your guidance in battle, I did not feel defeated. I felt supported, protected, like I had a shield brother beside me even when he was on the ship and I was in space. That's what humans do. We watch each other's backs. We're stronger together than apart. I think my people have forgotten this truth. We were not always so isolated in our strength. Long ago, before we conquered our home world, we fought in shield walls, warriors standing side by side. But as we grew more powerful, as our technology advanced, we began to believe we did not need anyone else." Hana smiled sadly. "Perhaps we lost something important when we stopped fighting together." The medical bay doors opened, and Captain Park walked in with the ship's Veltran liaison officer, the same pilot named Doyun who had seen Hana in the engineering bay. Taman stood up respectfully, and Hana immediately tried to sit straighter, her warrior posture returning instinctively. "At ease, Lieutenant," Captain Park said warmly. "I'm not here for a formal report. I came to commend you on an excellent battle performance. That engine shot was textbook precision flying. Thank you, Captain, but I could not have succeeded without Engineer Taman's support. Captain Park nodded and turned to Taman. I watched the whole thing from the CIC. What you two did out there was remarkable. Real-time armor adjustment during combat maneuvering? That shouldn't be possible. We improvised, Taman said simply. Humans are good at that. The captain smiled. The Coalition is lucky to have you both. I'm putting you both in for commendations. Doyen stepped forward, his expression neutral but his eyes thoughtful. Hana, I must ask. You allowed a human to tend your armor. You trusted him with your most intimate connection. This goes against our traditions. Hana met his gaze without flinching. Yes, I did. And I would do it again. Taman showed me more respect and care than any of our own technicians have. He treated my armor as if it were precious, as if my comfort mattered. Our traditions serve us well, but perhaps they should not be so rigid that they prevent us from accepting help when we need it. Doyen was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed slightly to Taman, a gesture of respect. The human has proven himself worthy of trust. Perhaps we Velthrons can learn from this. He turned back to Hana. You have not shamed yourself, Shield Sister. You have shown wisdom. After the captain and Doyen left, Hana looked exhausted but relieved. That went better than I expected. What did you think would happen? I thought I would be judged harshly by my people, that they would see me as weak for accepting help from an outsider. Hana lay back on the bed. Instead, Doyen called it wisdom. Things are changing, perhaps. Change is good sometimes. Yes, sometimes it is. Hana closed her eyes, but she was smiling. Taman, when my armor regenerates, I want to make a formal request. I want you to be designated as my official armor technician. Really? What does that mean? It means you would be responsible for all maintenance and repairs on my armor. It is a significant honor in Velthron culture. It means I trust you completely. Not just for one emergency, but for always. We would be shield bonded. Taman thought about it. About the hours spent carefully repairing her armor. About the trust they had built, about guiding her through battle while she trusted his judgment completely. I would be honored. Good. Then it is decided. Hana opened her eyes and looked at him with warmth. Try not to make every repair so dramatic, human, Taman laughed. I'll do my best. But knowing our luck, something crazy will probably happen anyway. They talked for another hour before Hana fell asleep again, her body needing rest to recover. Taman finally left the medical bay and returned to engineering, where he found a surprise waiting for him. 3 more Veltron pilots stood in his work area, looking uncomfortable but determined. One of them, a female warrior named Unji, stepped forward. Engineer Taman, we heard what you did for Lieutenant Hana. We heard how you treated her armor with respect and care. We would like to request your services for our own maintenance needs. Taman blinked in surprise. All 3 of you? Yes, if you are willing. Unji glanced at her companions. We have been reconsidering our stance on accepting assistance from other species. Perhaps it is not weakness after all, Taman smiled. This was how change happened. Not all at once, but one person at a time, one connection at a time. I'd be happy to help. But I'm going to need to train some other human engineers on Velthron armor systems. There's only one of me, and if all of you need support, I'll need a team. That would be acceptable, Unji said. Perhaps you could teach us your techniques as well. This biosealant method Hana mentioned. It sounds far more comfortable than our thermal fusion approach. Sure, I can do that. This could be the start of a whole new maintenance program. Taman's mind was already racing with possibilities. Cross-species technical exchange. Humans learning from Velthrons, Velthrons learning from humans. The 3 pilots looked at each other and something like excitement crossed their faces. Yes, Unji said. That would be most welcome. 2 weeks passed. Hana returned to full flight status with her regenerated armor, which now bore slight color variations in the repaired sections, like permanent scars that she wore with pride. She and Taman fell into an easy routine of regular maintenance and checks. Their initial awkwardness replaced by comfortable familiarity and mutual respect. The engineering bay had become a gathering place for Velthron pilots, seeking human technicians for their armor maintenance. What had started as an emergency had become a program that Captain Park officially endorsed and expanded. Taman ran through the corridors toward the Combat Information Center. His tools bounced in his pockets as he pushed past crew members rushing to their battle stations. The alarm continued to blare and the ship's engines changed pitch as the horizon's edge went to maximum alert status. He had to get to the CIC where he could access the ship's monitoring systems and track Hana's armor status. He burst through the CIC doors and found organized chaos inside. Officers stood at their stations calling out reports. Screens displayed tactical information, showing the approaching unknown vessel and the friendly fighter squadrons launching from the hangar. Captain Park stood in the center of the room, a tall human woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Engineer Taman. She acknowledged him with a nod. Why are you here? Shouldn't you be in engineering? Permission to monitor fighter systems, Captain. I just finished emergency repairs on Lieutenant Hana's armor. It's not fully complete. I need to track its status during the engagement. Captain Park studied him for a moment, then gestured to an empty console. Granted. Use Station 7. Try not to distract my crew. Thank you, ma'am. Taman hurried to the console and pulled up the fighter squadron monitoring system. He quickly located Hana's fighter and linked to the armor status data she was transmitting. The information scrolled across his screen, showing stress levels, integrity percentages, and system health. On the main tactical display, he could see the unknown vessel more clearly now. It was a Kresh raiding frigate, a ship type known throughout the galaxy for piracy and violence. The Kresh were brutal fighters who preferred attacking weaker vessels and stealing cargo. They rarely backed down from a fight unless seriously outmatched. Fighter squadrons launching now, an officer called out. Velthran Squadron Alpha in the lead. Human Squadron Beta forming up behind them. Taman watched his screen as Hana's fighter accelerated away from the horizon's edge. Her armor status showed mostly green, with a few yellow warnings in the shoulder section and along the torso where the repairs were newest. The numbers fluctuated as she moved in her cockpit, the armor flexing and responding to her body. Kresh vessel is powering weapons, another officer reported. They're not running. They mean to engage. All fighters engage at will, Captain Park ordered calmly. Protect the ship. Drive them off or disable them. Through the CIC's communication system, Taman could hear the fighter pilots talking to each other. Hana's voice came through, steady and professional. Alpha leader to all fighters. Form up on me. Attack pattern Delta 7. Watch for their point defense guns. The tactical display showed the fighters breaking into two groups and approaching the Kresh frigate from different angles. It was a standard coalition tactic, splitting enemy fire between multiple targets. The Kresh ship opened fire first, its guns spitting glowing projectiles toward the fighters. Hana's squadron dodged and weaved through the incoming fire. Taman watched his screen anxiously as the armor stress levels jumped during her aggressive maneuvering. The yellow warnings flickered but held steady. Then the fighters returned fire, their energy weapons lancing out toward the pirate vessel. The space battle was fast and violent. Fighters darted around the larger ship like angry insects, striking and dodging, their pilots executing complex maneuvers at speeds that would kill an unprotected human. The Kresh frigate was tough, its shields absorbing the first wave of attacks, but the coalition fighters were skilled and coordinated. Then Taman's screen lit up with red warnings. Hana's armor integrity was dropping fast. Something was wrong. No, 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 Taman muttered, his fingers flying over the console. He pulled up detailed diagnostics and saw the problem immediately. The stress fractures in the repaired sections were spreading. The incomplete repairs couldn't handle the strain of combat maneuvering. If this continued, the armor would fail completely. He grabbed his comm unit. Hana, this is Taman. Your armor is failing. The repairs are coming apart. Hana's voice came back, calm despite the situation. I know, I can feel it. The shoulder section is weakening. You need to reduce your maneuvering. Less aggressive movement until the battle is over. Not possible. I am squadron leader. I must lead the attack. In the background of her transmission, Taman could hear alarms from her cockpit and the sound of energy weapons firing. Taman's mind raced. He looked at the armor diagnostics again, searching for a solution. Then he remembered something. The armor was bonded to her nervous system. It responded to her thoughts, and he had spent hours learning how it worked while repairing it. Hana, listen to me. I think I can help, but you have to trust me completely. What do you need? I need you to manually adjust your armor while flying. I'll guide you through it. It's going to feel strange and it might hurt, but it's the only way to stabilize the repairs until you can return to the ship. There was a brief pause. An energy blast from the Kresh frigate passed close to Hana's fighter, and Taman heard her grunt as she rolled away from it. Then her voice came back, steady and certain. "Tell me what to do." Taman took a deep breath. "Okay. First, reach back with your left hand and press on your right shoulder blade. Press hard, about where the armor meets your spine. That will trigger the nerve feedback. I will feel it as if I am pressing on my own flesh. I know. But it will also redistribute the stress away from the damaged section. Trust me." Taman watched his screen, monitoring the armor's response in real time. Hana did as instructed. On his screen, Taman saw the stress patterns shift. "Good. Now slide your hand down about 6 inches and press again, but lighter this time." "Understood." Another pause as Hana executed the movement while simultaneously dodging enemy fire and coordinating her squadron's attack patterns. "It feels very strange. Like I am touching myself, but also like someone else is touching me. I know it's weird, but it's working. The stress fractures are stabilizing." Taman guided her through several more adjustments, each one carefully calculated to redistribute the force on her damaged armor. He was essentially having her perform field repairs on herself while flying a fighter at combat speed. It was insane. It shouldn't work, but somehow it did. "Alpha leader to all fighters," Hana's voice rang out across the battle net. "I'm going for the engine section. Cover me." "Hana, what are you doing?" Taman asked urgently. "Winning this fight. Keep monitoring my armor. Tell me if I need more adjustments." On the tactical display, Taman watched in horror and awe as Hana's fighter broke formation and accelerated directly toward the Kresh frigate. She was performing a dangerous maneuver, one that required flying through the enemy's heaviest defensive fire to reach the vulnerable engine section at the ship's rear. "Armor stress climbing," Taman reported, his voice tight. "Press the center of your chest with your right hand. Now." Hana complied without question, trusting his guidance completely while flying at maximum speed through a storm of weapons fire. Her fighter jinked left, rolled right, and dove under a pattern of incoming projectiles. The other coalition fighters provided covering fire, forcing the Kresh gunners to split their attention. Taman's screen went wild with alerts. The armor was at its breaking point. "You're almost at critical failure. Whatever you're going to do, do it now." Firing. Hana's fighter unleashed all its weapons at point-blank range directly into the Kresh frigate's engine section. The pirate ship's shields were weakest there, designed to protect against distant attacks, not a fighter pressing its weapons against the hull. Hana's shots punched through and detonated inside the engine compartment. The Kresh frigate shuddered as explosions rippled through its engineering section. Its weapons went silent and the ship began listing to one side, disabled but not destroyed. The remaining fighters pulled back, their job complete. "Alpha Squadron, return to Horizon's Edge," Hana ordered. "Enemy vessel is disabled." Taman sagged in his chair, relief flooding through him. Around him in the CIC, officers were cheering and congratulating each other. The battle had been won without any coalition casualties, but Taman's screen still showed red warnings. Hana's armor had held but barely. As the fighters began their return to the ship, Hana's private channel opened. "Taman, are you still there?" "I'm here." "You did it. That was incredible flying. I could not have done it without you." Her voice was quieter now, the battle focus fading. "My armor would have failed if you had not guided me. You saved my life. You trusted me when it mattered most. That's what saved you." "Yes, I trusted you." There was something in her voice, something warm and genuine. "Thank you, Shield Brother." Taman felt the weight of that title. In Velthron culture, calling someone Shield Brother meant they were bound by trust and mutual protection. It was one of their highest honors. "You're welcome, Shield Sister." The fighters touched down in the hangar bay. Taman left the CIC and ran toward the hangar, needing to check on Hana and complete the armor repairs. When he arrived, he found her standing beside her fighter, and the moment she saw him approaching, her armor finally gave out. The emergency patches failed all at once. The damaged section simply fell apart, and Hana collapsed to her knees as overwhelming sensory feedback flooded her nervous system. Taman and the medical team reached her simultaneously, but it was Taman who caught her before she fell completely. The repair work stretched into the 3rd hour. What should have been a quick fix had become an exercise in patience and precision. Taman's back ached from maintaining his careful posture, but he refused to rush. Every movement mattered. Every tool adjustment was announced before execution. He had never worked so slowly or so deliberately in his entire career. "I'm going to use the biosealant now," Taman said, reaching for a tool that looked like a medical injection gun. "This is going to seal the inner layers where your armor's fluid system is leaking. It might feel cold at first, then warm as it sets." "Understood," Hana replied. Her voice had become steadier as the hours passed. She was adjusting to the sensation of being worked on, though Taman could still see the tension in her jaw. He applied the sealant carefully to the damaged inner layers. The blue gel filled the tiny cracks and immediately began hardening. Hana shivered slightly. "That is a very strange sensation. Cold?" "Yes, but also ticklish somehow. Our technicians do not use biosealant. They prefer thermal fusion for everything." Hana paused. "Your method feels better." Less harsh, Taman felt a small surge of pride. "Human medical technology. We've gotten pretty good at working with biological systems over the years. I figured if your armor is partly alive, medical tools might work better than pure engineering tools." "Clever. I will tell our technicians about this when he recovers." As Taman continued working, other crew members occasionally passed through the engineering bay. A pair of human mechanics walked by and waved at Taman. They noticed Hana standing rigidly with Taman working inches from her body and exchanged glances but said nothing. Then one of the ship's other Velthron pilots, a male warrior named Doyun, stopped at the entrance of the work area. "Hana?" Doyun called out, his voice filled with surprise. "What are you doing?" Hana's entire body went stiff. Her face showed a flash of panic before her warrior mask slammed back into place. "My armor required repair. The human engineer is assisting me." Doyun stared at the scene, his expression unreadable. Taman could feel the weight of whatever cultural rules were being broken here. The Velthron pilot looked at Hana for a long moment, then simply nodded once. "I see. Fly well, shield sister." He turned and left without another word. After Doyun disappeared, Hana let out a breath she had been holding. "That will be all over the ship by evening." "Is that a problem?" Taman asked, pausing his work. "I do not know yet. It depends on how other Veltrons interpret this." Hana's voice was quiet. "I have just let another species see me vulnerable. That is not the Velthron way. For what it's worth, I don't think you're being vulnerable. I think you're being practical. You had a problem, and you found a solution." Taman resumed his careful work on her shoulder plate. "That seems pretty smart to me. Humans have a different perspective on such matters." But Hana sounded less troubled than before. "Tell me, Taman, how did your people survive long enough to reach the stars? You seem so willing to trust, to show weakness, to ask for help. These things should make you easy prey." Taman laughed softly. "Actually, that's exactly why we survived. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest or the toughest, but we're really good at working together. When one human can't do something alone, we find other humans to help. We share knowledge freely. We adapt to new situations quickly. The Veltrons call this pack tactics. We considered it a weakness when we first met humanity. And now? Now we are beginning to understand that perhaps there are different kinds of strength." Hana tilted her head slightly, careful not to move too much while Taman worked. "Your species surprised the entire coalition. Everyone expected humans to remain minor partners, maybe useful for labor or simple tasks. Instead, you have become essential. Human engineers fix things other species cannot. Human diplomats solve problems other species abandon. Human soldiers fight alongside any species without prejudice. We're pretty good at getting along with others." Taman agreed. He switched to a heating tool, one that would help the bio-armor regenerate faster. "This is going to feel very warm. I'm going to move it in slow circles over the damaged area. It'll help stimulate your armor's natural healing." The heating tool glowed softly as Taman activated it. He held it close to the damaged shoulder plate and began moving it in careful, deliberate patterns. Hana made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sigh. "Too hot?" Taman asked immediately, ready to pull back. "No. It is actually pleasant, like sunlight on bare skin." Hana's voice had changed. She sounded almost relaxed. "We do not have tools like this. Our repairs are clinical, efficient, but not comfortable. Comfort matters. If something hurts less and heals better, why not use the better method?" Taman continued the warming pattern, watching as the armor's color slowly returned to normal under the heat. The metal seemed to flow slightly, filling in the damaged sections on its own. "Your philosophy is very different from ours. We Velthrons believe in enduring discomfort. We think it makes us stronger, maybe it does. But I think being smart about avoiding unnecessary pain also makes you stronger. You save your strength for when you really need it. Taman moved the heating tool to another section. Besides, if I can fix your armor and make the process not terrible, why wouldn't I? They fell into a comfortable rhythm after that. Taman would announce each action, Hana would prepare herself, and then he would execute the repair with maximum care. They began talking more freely to distract from the awkwardness. Hana told him about her home world, a planet with 3 moons and violent purple oceans. She described the warrior academies where young Velthrans learned to bond with their armor, the grueling tests they endured, and the pride of earning their first flight wings. Taman shared stories of Earth, describing cities built toward the sky, oceans of blue instead of purple, and how humans had nearly destroyed themselves before finally learning to cooperate. He talked about the early days of space exploration, when humans had been terrified and excited at the same time to discover they were not alone in the universe. We thought we were so advanced, Taman said with a laugh, carefully adjusting a plate on Hana's torso. Then we met the Coalition and realized our technology was about 100 years behind everyone else's, yet now human engineers are among the most sought after in the galaxy because we had to learn to improvise. We couldn't rely on having the best tools or the most advanced materials. We had to make do with what we had, and that taught us to think creatively. Taman stepped back to examine his work, which is actually helping me right now. Your armor is unlike anything I've worked with before, but the principles are similar to things I know. Biology plus mechanics, medicine plus engineering. I'm just combining techniques. Hana turned her head to look at him, a real smile crossing her face for the first time. You are a strange human, Taman, but I'm glad you are the one repairing my armor. Thanks. I'm glad you trust me enough to let me try. The work continued. Taman used a combination of standard engineering tools and improvised medical techniques. He heated sections to encourage regeneration, sealed cracks with biocompatible materials, and carefully realigned plates that had been knocked out of position. Hana remained patient throughout, only occasionally tensing when he worked on particularly sensitive areas. As the 4th hour approached, Taman could see the armor was nearly complete. The color had returned to normal, the plates aligned properly, and all the leaks were sealed. Just a few more adjustments and Hana would be ready to fly again. Then the ship's alarm system screamed to life. Red lights flashed throughout the engineering bay. The general quarters alert blared 3 times, then the captain's voice came over the intercom. All hands to battle stations. Unknown vessel approaching. Fighter squadrons prepare to launch. This is not a drill. Hana's entire body snapped to attention. Her warrior instincts took over immediately. I must go. My squadron is being called. Taman looked at the armor. It was functional, mostly repaired, but not quite finished. Maybe 85% complete. The armor isn't fully healed yet. It should hold, but it's not optimal. It will be enough. I am Velthron. We fly with worse. Hana was already moving toward the exit. Wait. Taman grabbed a small device from his tool bench. Take this comm unit. I can monitor your armor's status from here. If anything starts to fail, I'll let you know. Hana paused, took the device, and clipped it to her belt. For just a moment, her warrior mask dropped, and he saw genuine gratitude in her eyes. Thank you, Taman. For everything. Then she was gone, running toward the fighter bay, and Taman was left standing in the engineering bay with his tools scattered around him. His careful, gentle repair work was about to be tested in combat. Taman stood there holding his tools, suddenly very aware of how close he was standing to Hana. Everything had changed in the last few minutes. What had seemed like a simple repair job now felt like walking through a minefield. He could see the tension in her posture, the way she held herself rigid and ready, like she was preparing for battle instead of a repair. Okay, Taman said quietly. Before I continue, I need to understand this better. You said the armor is bonded to you at a cellular level. Can you explain how this works? I need to know so I don't accidentally hurt you. Hana seemed grateful for the question, like talking about the technical details was easier than acknowledging the awkwardness. When a Velthron comes of age, we undergo the bonding ceremony. The armor is grown specifically for each individual. It connects to our nervous system, our circulatory system, everything. It becomes part of us. In battle, we can control it with thought alone. It responds faster than any mechanical suit could. That's incredible technology, Taman said honestly. So when it gets damaged, your body registers it as injury? Yes, but the pain is dulled. Evolution made us resilient. We feel enough to know we are damaged, but not enough to be disabled by it. Hana paused. However, when someone repairs the armor, the sensation is different. It is not pain exactly. It is more like pressure, warmth, texture. We feel the tools, the movements, everything. Taman felt his face getting warm. This was definitely beyond his normal engineering experience. And normally, who does these repairs? Who's allowed to work on Velthran armor? Family members. Bonded partners. Sometimes close shield brothers or shield sisters. Warriors who have fought together for many years. Hana's voice became quieter. It is considered an intimate act. Not romantic necessarily, but deeply personal. We must trust completely. And you're trusting me? A human you barely know? I have no family aboard this ship. I have no bonded partner. My shield sister serves on another vessel. Hana looked directly at him. And I cannot ask another Velthran warrior to do this without losing face. To ask would be to admit weakness, to show I cannot maintain my own armor. In our culture, that would bring shame. Taman shook his head. That seems like a harsh rule. It is our way. We are taught from childhood to be self-reliant, to never show vulnerability. Hana's expression softened slightly. But I observed something about humans in the years since you joined the coalition. You ask for help easily. You work together without shame. You have no rigid hierarchy about who can do what. It is strange to us, but I have come to respect it. Well, humans learned a long time ago that asking for help isn't weakness. It's actually pretty smart. None of us can do everything alone. Taman set his tools down on the bench beside them. Look, I want to help you. But I need you to be honest with me throughout this process. If something feels wrong or if I need to adjust what I'm doing, tell me immediately. Can you do that? Hana nodded slowly. I can try. We are not trained to speak of such things. Then we'll both be doing something new today. Taman gave her a small smile, trying to ease the tension. I've never repaired armor that's alive, and you've never had a human fix your armor. We'll figure it out together. Something in Hana's eyes changed. The rigid warrior mask cracked just a little, and she almost smiled back. Very well, Taman. I place my trust in you. All right, let me explain what I'm going to do step by step. First, I need to seal these cracks in the outer plating. I'll use the molecular welder. It's going to feel warm, maybe hot. The tool will move slowly along each crack. I'll need to press lightly to make sure the seal is complete. Is that okay? Yes, proceed. Taman picked up the welder again and moved carefully toward her damaged torso plate. This time he warned her before touching anything. I'm going to place my hand on your shoulder for stability. Here it comes. He placed his hand gently on her undamaged left shoulder. Hana inhaled sharply but held still. I am ready. Okay, starting now. Taman activated the molecular welder and brought it to the first crack. He moved the tool slowly, watching the metal begin to fuse back together. The crack sealed smoothly under the heat. How does that feel? Warm, strange, but not painful. Hana's voice was controlled, but Taman could hear the strain in it. Good. I'm going to continue along this crack. Just keep breathing normally. Taman focused on his work, moving the welder with steady precision. He had done this kind of repair hundreds of times on various materials, but never while being so aware of every tiny movement he made. The minutes crawled by. Taman narrated everything he did before he did it. Now I'm moving to the shoulder plate. This one has a deeper crack. I'll need to apply more heat here. Each time he shifted position or changed tools, he warned her first. Hana stood like a statue, but he could see her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides. After an hour of painstaking work, Taman stepped back to check his progress. I need to take a break. My hands are cramping. Hana visibly relaxed, her shoulders dropping slightly. Yes, a break would be acceptable. They both moved to the bench and sat down. Taman flexed his fingers while Hana sat perfectly straight, looking straight ahead. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken thoughts. You are being very careful, Hana said finally. More careful than our own technicians would be. Yeah, well, I'm not used to my repairs being felt by the person I'm working on. It makes me more aware of everything I do. Taman looked at her. Can I ask you something? You may ask. Why did you become a pilot? I mean, with all this complexity about the armor and everything, it seems like it would be difficult. Hana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice held something Taman hadn't heard before. Warmth, maybe even joy, because when I fly, I am free. In the cockpit, connected fully to my fighter through my armor, I become one with the machine. There is no separation between thought and action. It is the closest thing to perfection I've ever experienced. That sounds amazing. It is, and that is why I must have this armor repaired. I cannot imagine being grounded, trapped on the ship while my squadron flies without me. Hana turned to look at him. I know this situation is uncomfortable for both of us, but I am grateful you agreed to help. Hey, that's what I'm here for. Fixing things, Taman smiled. Even if those things are more complicated than I expected. They sat together for a few more minutes, and Taman found himself telling Hana about his own path to becoming an engineer. How he had always loved taking things apart as a kid. How he had nearly been kicked out of school for disassembling the principal's computer. How he had learned that fixing things was about understanding them first. Hana listened, and for the first time since she had walked into the engineering bay, she seemed to truly relax. Her shoulders lowered, her posture became less rigid, and she even laughed once when Taman described accidentally flooding his school's robotics lab. I think I am ready to continue, Hana said after their break. And Taman, I want you to know something. In Velthron culture, when a warrior allows another to tend their armor, it is a sign of deep trust. What we are doing here today goes beyond simple repair work. You are showing me respect and care, and I will not forget that. Taman felt the weight of her words. This was clearly important to her in ways he was only beginning to understand. I'll keep being as gentle as I can. I promise. They both stood up and returned to the work area. Taman picked up his tools again, and Hana took her position under the lights. But something had shifted between them. The awkwardness was still there, but underneath it now was something else. Understanding, maybe. The beginning of trust. Ready? Taman asked. Ready, Hana confirmed. Taman resumed his work, and the long process continued. But now when Hana tensed or gasped at a particularly sensitive repair, Taman would pause and check in with her. And when he explained what he was about to do, Hana would nod and prepare herself, trusting his guidance. Slowly, carefully, the armor began to heal under his hands. Taman wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the engine component he had just finished fixing. Another successful repair for the day. The engineering bay of the starship Horizon's Edge hummed with the usual sounds of machinery and distant conversations. He enjoyed working here, surrounded by technology from dozens of different alien species. It had been 5 years since humanity joined the Galactic Coalition, and Taman still found something new to learn every single day. He heard footsteps behind him, heavier than human steps. Taman turned around and saw one of the Veltron pilots approaching. Her name was Hana, and she was limping slightly. The armor she wore looked damaged, with deep scratches along the torso and a dented shoulder plate. Velthron armor was sleek and beautiful, like a second skin made of dark metal that seemed to flow like liquid. Hana's armor was deep purple with silver accents, and even damaged it looked impressive. Hana stopped a few feet away from him. She stood tall and rigid the way all Velthron warriors did. Her face showed no pain, though Taman could see she was hurting. Velthrons were proud people, known throughout the galaxy for their fighting skills and their incredible technology. They rarely asked for help from anyone, especially not from humans. Engineer Taman, Hana said formally. Her voice was steady and strong. I require assistance with my armor. Taman stood up and brushed off his work uniform. What happened to you? Training exercise. My wingmate made an error in judgment. The damage is not severe, but it needs repair. Hana looked away slightly as if the admission bothered her. Our ship's Velthron technician is in medical bay. Radiation poisoning. He will not be available for several days. And you need someone to fix your armor now? Yes, I have missions scheduled. I cannot fly with compromised armor integrity. Hana met his eyes. I have heard that you can fix anything. Is this true? Taman smiled a little. He had built that reputation over the past year working on this ship. Whenever something broke and nobody knew how to fix it, they called him. He enjoyed the challenge. I can try. I haven't worked on Velthron armor before, but I'm a fast learner. Hana seemed to relax slightly, though her posture remained perfect. I would be grateful for your assistance. Come over here to the workstation. Let me get my scanner and see what we're dealing with. Taman walked to his tool bench and grabbed his diagnostic scanner. It was a modified version that could read technology from multiple species. He had built it himself, combining parts from 3 different standard scanners. Hana followed him and stood in the center of the workspace under the bright lights. Up close, Taman could see her armor more clearly. It was not just metal plates bolted together like human armor. It looked organic somehow, like it was growing from her skin. The damaged sections showed inner layers that looked almost like muscle tissue, but mechanical. Strange and beautiful at the same time. Stay still. I'm going to scan the damage. Taman activated his scanner and moved it slowly over the damaged areas. The readings appeared on his handheld display. Interesting. Your armor has a biosignature. Its reading is partly alive. Velthran armor is biomechanical, Hana said simply. It is more efficient than purely mechanical systems. Makes sense. Taman studied the scan results. The damage went deeper than he expected. Several layers were compromised and some kind of fluid system was leaking. Okay, I can fix this. It'll take a couple of hours. The good news is that nothing is broken beyond repair. I'll need to seal these layers, realign the plating, and patch the fluid channels. Proceed, Hana said. Taman gathered his tools. He selected a molecular welder, a pressure calibrator, and a biosealant gun that was normally used for medical equipment. He figured if the armor was partially organic, medical tools might work. This might feel weird. The welder gets hot. I can endure discomfort, Hana replied stiffly. Right. Okay, here we go. Taman moved closer to her and placed his left hand gently on her shoulder to steady himself. With his right hand, he brought the molecular welder up to the damaged torso plate. He activated it and began running the tool along the first crack. Hana gasped sharply. Taman immediately pulled back. Did I hurt you? Is it too hot? The warrior's face had changed. Her eyes were wide and her cheeks had darkened with what looked like a blush. She was breathing harder than before. For the first time since entering the bay, she looked uncomfortable and vulnerable. Hana caught herself quickly, standing up straighter and trying to control her expression. Wait, Hana said quickly. She held up one hand. Human, you must understand something about Velthran bioarmor first. Taman lowered his tools. What's wrong? Hana took a breath, clearly struggling with what to say next. Pride and necessity fought on her face. Finally, necessity won. Our armor is not simply worn. It is bonded to us at a cellular level. The armor becomes part of our body. We share a nervous system with it. Okay, Taman said slowly, not quite understanding why this mattered. When the armor is damaged, we feel it. Like an injury to our own flesh, though less intense. Hana looked away from him. And when someone repairs the armor, when someone touches it and manipulates it, we feel that too. Understanding crashed into Taman like a cold wave. His eyes widened. Oh no. You mean when I just touched your armor? You felt it like I was touching your actual body? Yes. Like actually touching you? Your skin? Yes, Hana repeated, her voice quieter now. Taman stepped back, horrified. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I wouldn't have just grabbed you like that if I had known. He put his tools down on the bench. Why didn't you tell me before I started? Hana's jaw tightened. Because I was ashamed. In Velthran culture, we do not speak of this weakness to outsiders. We are warriors. We should not need others to touch our armor. It is considered intimate, personal. She finally looked at him again. But I have no choice. Protocol demands armor integrity. I cannot fly missions in this condition. And the only alternative is waiting 3 weeks for replacement parts to arrive. 3 weeks? That's a long time to be grounded. Yes, too long. Hana straightened her shoulders, pulling her warrior mask back into place. The repair must continue. I will endure whatever discomfort is necessary. I am Velthran. I am strong. Taman looked at her, then at his tools, then back at her. This had suddenly become much more complicated than any repair job he had ever done. He was being asked to essentially touch this proud warrior for hours while she felt everything, all while trying to fix delicate biomechanical systems. No pressure at all. Hana seemed to gather all her courage and spoke the words that would echo in Taman's mind for a long time. Please, human, be gentle. I will endure. Taman swallowed hard and nodded slowly. I'll do my best. But you need to tell me if anything I do is too much. If it hurts or if it's uncomfortable, you have to speak up. I can't do this if I'm hurting you and don't know it. Agreed, Hana said softly. Taman picked up his tools again, his hands steadier than he felt inside. This was going to be the strangest and most delicate repair job of his entire career. He took a deep breath and approached her once more, this time with the knowledge of exactly what his work would mean.